Hey everybody, Allison Gardner here. So as I revealed in my Facebook post yesterday, I am a bit of a Chronicles of Narnia fan. Who am I kidding? A bit? I love it. I absolutely love it. Boxcar Children and Chronicles of Narnia and Rascal and the Rats of Nim were like the three books that I remember from my childhood. And Mom would gather us all together in the evenings and she would read to us. And Narnia was one of those books that I just loved. And so I bought a copy when I grew up and moved out. And it's one of those books that I read like once a year. And there's always one part in the book, though, that I want to skip over. And it's in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, when they go to the Dark Island. And so if you don't know the plot, the main characters, I could go into names and things, but for the point of this video, the main characters are on a ship, and they are with the king of Narnia, who is looking for the 7 lords who used to support his father and help run the country. And so he's on this ship, and they're on the ship with him, and they're visiting different islands and mapping the world so that they can see who all is there and trying to find these lords. And while they're on this voyage, they have some luck finding them, and they have some adventures. And then sort of what I view as the climax of the book, they start sailing towards this dark mass. It's not even like a land mass, it's just this dark smudge cloud thing on the horizon. And they end up going there, and when they are going towards it, it's light. But the closer and closer that they get, it gets darker and darker as though it were midnight. And I just remember that as I was young, I could never read this book because C.S. Lewis describes this moment as they're going into the darkness and their fear is just building because they're like, anything could be in this cloud and anything could happen. And it tells this perspective from Lucy. And the girl who has had so much faith that when others doubted Aslan, or when others doubted sort of the outcome and how things would all come together, she had so much faith and trust. And as they enter this cloud, they're hearing moaning and screaming and shouts and different things, and they're just like, anything could happen in this cloud because you couldn't see anything. You couldn't even see the nose in front of your face. And they hear the shouting from the side of the ship. So they haul this guy aboard, and he is one of the 7 lords that they are looking for. And he says, run, turn the ship and fly as fast as you can from here. And Prince Caspian, or Reepicheep, who's the huge mouse, is like, why? Why do we need to leave? Like, we're off discovering, so we are here to discover this. And the man said, you don't get it. This land is where all of your darkest fears come true. And where the minute what you're afraid of comes to mind, it becomes reality. And when I was reading that as a young adult, everything that I was ever afraid of popped into my head, and it was so real for me in that moment that I was so afraid, and I just tried to clear my mind. And you know what happens when you try to clear your mind? All of the stuff comes crowding in even more. And so I was just so afraid. And as they're sailing away and they're fleeing from this danger, Lucy thinks of all of these scary things that could happen, and then she goes, no, and she says, Aslan, save us. And I believe, it's been a while since I've read it, but a phoenix comes and is this point of light and brushes past Lucy and the different people and sails all the way around and just brings light to the ship, and then goes to the bow of the ship so they have light to sail out of this darkness. And as the phoenix flew by, she sensed Aslan there. And as I have been thinking about this, and as more and more changes have happened in my life, I thought about how that is so true for us. That fear can take us over. And that maybe if our fear is a monster under the bed, okay, a monster under the bed might not all of a sudden appear. But if our thoughts are so focused on the negative, then the negative and the scary and the disheartening are going to be all that we see. And so if we're so focused in on that and so uncertain, that is a moment when you call out to Christ and you say, save us. And I want to put this in non-pandemic terms. But I mean, did I just say that word? Like, pandemic. I got word today when I got to work that today was my last day in the office until further notice. And so we're transitioning to working from home. And I'm so grateful for that. And then I do have the opportunity to work from home, yet it, as my husband said, it got real. Because all of a sudden this wasn't something that was happening far away, it was happening in my life. And that all of these fears started coming up, and what if I never go back? What if da-da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da-da, and your brain just spirals. But I had just recently had an experience where I saw that that was so dangerous. And I want to share that with you. So I have been sharing, I shared months ago now that I was having a hard time at work, and I felt like a lot of things were outside of my control, and things were not in a good place, and I was just done. And I've been working through that and trying different things, and things did not go like I thought that they would. And so my brain just kept building up this story of why things were hard, and it kept looking for the negative and the frustrating and the things that weren't good, because I had this narrative that things were hard. And so I had to keep collecting evidence to kind of prove to myself that I felt vindicated, that it was okay that I felt that way. And it got so second nature that I didn't even notice myself doing it anymore. I was just sort of like, yep, there's that one other thing to prove why things are the way that they are. Or there's there's another example of da-da-da-da-da. I say da-da-da-da-da a lot. I apologize slightly for my vagueness, but it's intentional. So we're just going to roll. But I had looked for all of these reasons for why it was the way that it was. And so I was sharing my frustration and my heaviness. And I mean, literally, my sense of dread was just building and building and building. And it was really hard to function. And so I got home, and I was hoping for some other things in the mix that weren't happening. And so I was just talking about how I wanted to get away. And I just had to get away. And my husband said, Allison, is that really helping you? Like, is feeling this way and repeating the same things over and over again really helping you? And that shut me up really fast. That was not his intent, but I had to think about why I was feeling that way, and kind of, was it doing me any good? And I realized that I had been in this mindset for so long that I just kept looking for stuff to support this mindset. And I would try and be an actor at certain points. And I've talked about victim energy and blame energy, and how you try and shift it's other people's faults, or it's other circumstances' fault. It's not mine. And to a certain degree, yeah, there was stuff going on outside of my control, but what I was telling myself had really sort of determined why I was feeling the way that I was. And so he said, how about you do something about it? And I was like, that's scary though. But the more that I thought about it, and the more that things were going on, I realized that I could. And so I prayed to Heavenly Father, and I said, help me to know the best way to do this. And he's like, hey, tomorrow, do it tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I asked for his help, and I confronted the situation, and I was open, and I was incredibly blunt, and I just was like, bam. And I'm trying to figure out where to go next, because does that mean that everything that I have observed in the last few months was incorrect? Does that mean that I can just sweep under the rug all of the emotions and all of the things that were there? No. But in finally in stepping up and just laying it out and really confronting it head on and really just putting myself out there, I got a perspective shift. I got to see that I was looking at things from my perspective, which had my baggage and my understanding attached, and that this situation involved other people, and they had other perspectives, and they had other priorities, and they had other understanding. And all of a sudden I realized that all of that energy that I had put into this was because I didn't fully understand. And it was like a switch just flipped, and I got it. And like I said, did this mean that all of the other things just magically poof? No. But it was better. And I felt better, and I felt like this huge burden had just been taken off my shoulders. And when I tried to pick that burden back up again, Heavenly Father's like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I get it. I get that there is still some oomph to those things, but do you need it anymore? Or are you okay with what you now know? And I realized that I could just let it go. And that I didn't have to doubt myself, and I didn't have to berate myself for holding on to those things. I was doing the best that I could with what I knew at the moment. And then when I had learned and grown and gotten braver and more confident, and I could finally be in a place to confront the situation, I then had more knowledge and new information so that I could handle it differently, and I could move forward differently. And how powerful it was to realize that I could, with what I now know, I can do differently. And then I don't have to beat myself up, and I don't have to question. I can rest in the Lord. I don't know what your life is like right now. I don't know if things feel impossible because you're trying to support a spouse in crazy town with all the stuff going around us. I mean, I already said the word pandemic. I don't know if you're just doing your best to get by with your kids and homeschooling is hard and stuff is weird. I don't know if you just feel like you are on edge all the time and you're so afraid. Or maybe you're cool as a cucumber and life hasn't changed that much. I think there's still something there though. But whatever it is, I hope that you will take it to the Lord and you'll say, is there additional information that would be helpful for me to know? Are there questions that I should ask? And maybe these are questions you're just asking yourself. Maybe this is just you checking in with you, going, hey, where are we at? But whatever it is, I hope that you will take the time to interrogate your thoughts. And you'll take some time to invite the Lord into the process so that He can speak peace to your heart. And to trust His timing. I am in awe that I've been carrying around this for months. And that yesterday, He finally gave me the words to figure out what was actually going on. So that today when I leave, I'm not leaving with hurt feelings. I'm not leaving with the anxiety I've carried around. I'm at peace. And I'm ready for a transition and something new. And I'm just so grateful that instead of removing me from the situation, He helped me learn what I needed so that I was ready when the situation shifted. And I think that's a very powerful part of life, is to realize that we may want to be removed, but He's giving us the strength to bring it to resolution. And that He knows when the shifts are going to happen. He knows. He knew 2 days ago that today would happen, that I would be packing stuff up and transitioning to work from home. He knew that was happening. But He wanted to empower me. He wanted me to take my power back, to be able to move forward in love and peace. So He let it keep going, and He gave me the chance to learn. And I have a feeling that He's doing the same for you. So if life feels cray-cray right now, or crazy, or whatever you're calling it, I hope you'll take the time to invite His help and to take a look to see what can change. Because He will strengthen your heart as you complete your journey in the dark. Thank you for joining me on my journey as I'm learning, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.